I truly was like, no, white people don't split the pole neither. But apparently these motherfuckers are splitting the pole.
Oh my God, what?
Right.
They're holding hands, and then if a pole comes, they're letting hands go and rejoining hands. That's how that works in their culture. No, we don't do that around here. We're grabbing hands and going around that pole.
Yep. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of Black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove that Mr. Cheeks is his father's name. You could just call him Cheeks. You could just call him regular old Cheeks. You can lose the formalities with old Mr. Cheeks. Just call him Cheeks. I'm your host, Langston Kerman. I'm happy to be here. It's the goddamn holiday season. It's the time of love and giving, and also still toxic conspiracy theories, and that is what we're spreading here today. And my guest today, she's a joy. She is a person, I imagine, who spreads both cheer and toxicity, all in a warm bubble. Just a sweet just a fruitcake of cheer and toxicity. She's fantastic. You know her from some great shows from Southside. Now on HBO Max, season 2 is available, and she is one of the breakout stars of that show. She also has been seen on Sherman Showcase, where, one of their most classic bits came out of. What was it?
Dropping Love for Jesus.
Dropping Love for Jesus. A hit. If they played it in the club, we'd all go off.
That's true.
You know her, you love her. Please give it up for my guest, Miss Zuri Salahuddin.
Woo-hoo!
What up, dog?
What's going on? Thank you for having me. I'm
Hell yeah.
so excited. Man, I was jealous of everybody getting their turn. I was like, when is it my turn? That was my turn. I'm excited.
It's your turn to let's get messy, let's get toxic, let's do the whole thing.
Let's do it.
You came with an exciting one that I'm told you already had it in the bag. You were ready to go as soon as you were asked. And this one's exciting because I think like some of the ones we've done in the past, it is not quite conspiracy theory. It borders on superstition, but I imagine that those have similar qualities depending on how you interpret them. But I won't delay this anymore. You said, my mama told me
it's bad luck to split poles.
Yes. If you split a pole, it is bad luck. And I also have the remedy to reverse that bad luck immediately after you split that pole. I do it every single time.
Okay.
Every single time.
Well, before you give us the remedy, because we don't even know what the fuck this bad luck is coming from yet. Don't jump the gun here, Zuri. We got work to do.
All right, bet.
Tell me where this comes from for you. Is this something you believe? Is this something you've always believed? Tell me everything.
Well, here's the thing. I've always been extremely cautionary, right? So as a child, when you hear certain things, usually if you don't listen to what you're told, you get like a spanking or something like, at least from where I was from. You get a spanking or you get a timeout, right? So you don't even want to find out what happens when you don't listen. So I actually would never know if it was bad luck because I immediately follow instructions on what to do if I split said pole. But so apparently, like if you split a pole, it's really bad luck. And it's a superstition, I'm assuming, but it's just something that I've always heard. It's something that is so prevalent, I feel, in sub-Black community culture that like a lot of people, if you split a pole, like what the hell is wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
I love what you're saying. There's two things that stand out to me in particular, and I'll start with the first thing. Is I did not know that you see yourself as a very cautious person. that you're which isn't to say that I don't think you're cautious. I don't know, but that's not what I would have presumed in the time that we've spent together, that you're like a nervous, oh no, this kind of person.
Nervous, just very aware.
Okay.
Very aware. My eyes be everywhere. I be seeing stuff.
And feel free to tell me if this is off base, but there are a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
You got a big family.
I do.
There's how many of y'all are there?
All right. So if you break it down, my mother and father were together for almost 30 years. So they had 6 kids.
Right.
And then my dad, they divorced. And then my dad got remarried and he had 2 more kids. So there's 8 in total.
Yeah. So 8 total kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the baby of the original
First
6.
bunch, I'm the baby. Yep.
You're the baby, which means that I imagine you saw the error in so many of your siblings' ways.
Absolutely.
That maybe that's where that caution sort of kicked in.
Absolutely. When you see enough people get their ass beat, you be like, whoa, brother, I don't want none of that smoke. So you move differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm I don't put myself out there, but I'm very, very cautious. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure. You saw enough ass whoopings flying. You were like, your girl ain't got to go through that.
Absolutely. I've seen
lesson
enough.
Learned. Fair enough. So that at least introduces a type of caution. Here's the other part that stands out to me, that frankly, it wasn't until I was doing the research on this bad boy that I didn't realize that this is a primarily Black superstition.
It is.
That was revelatory.
Yeah.
So my question then is, where do you think that comes from? Why is this a particularly Black conspiracy theory?
Slavery. I feel like everything comes from slavery.
Yeah, but that was wait a minute.
So that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. Sure. You're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
That absolutely, it probably comes from slavery. But are you saying like that there's a specific thing in slavery? Was there a master who was like, pole man, and he'd beat the shit out of you if you walked a certain way past his pole?
Goddamn poles again.
Oh, don't go by old pole master. He's gonna beat you with his pole.
No, this is what I think. Now, I'm making this completely up. Okay,
I love that. That's honestly what we're here for.
Imagine if you are trying to escape slavery, right?
Yep.
And there's a buddy system, right? You don't want to break that chain. You don't want to break that chain. So, like, say if there's a barrier or something, you got to go around it together. Because if you split up, you're fucked.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Go ahead, give me that
You
bell.
know, in Family Feud, when they go, good answer, good answer.
That's right. I deserve the bell.
Yeah. Survey says, I want to give you the full Steve Harvey treatment, because that was a good answer. So you're saying that this is sort of like encouraging us in a now metaphorical way to stay united in our efforts towards a certain goal or towards our freedom, our functionality, whatever it may be.
Well, when you put it like that, yeah, it sounds really good. That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I meant the whole time.
Absolutely. You a mind reader.
Brother, you didn't have to repeat back exactly what I said.
That's it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So this pole represents an obstruction that might keep us from being united, and therefore we don't split the pole because that would be bad luck. Mm-hmm. Okay, I like where we're heading with this bad boy. So you're saying, let's go back a little bit. Okay. You're saying that you're a very cautious person who rarely, if ever, has split a pole. Have you ever split a pole in your life?
I'm pretty sure I used to do it as a kid for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Without even thinking of it.
Yep.
And it was something that I would hear like as a child, like, don't split a pole. I would always hear that. And then this one day I was like, I believe I was at a bus stop with a friend, and this random Black man out of nowhere was like, oh, that's right. You don't want to get that far. You don't get that far. Never mind.
No. We're there now. You can do it now.
It's the remedy.
Yeah. I want to hear about this remedy.
All right. So this random Black man is like, you shouldn't split poles. But if you do, immediately say bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
And that's the fix. So anytime, and not only do I do it, like if I accidentally split a pole, but if I see anybody else do it, I'll say it for them because I don't want them to have bad luck.
Oh.
Yeah, I be looking out.
You're out here like a bread and butter
Hell
vigilante.
yeah.
Just you're bread and butter Batman, where you're just
Absolutely.
running through the
Absolutely.
streets.
I'm saving everybody from their own bad luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you have any evidence of that salvation working, or vice versa, of people having split poles in front of you before you knew about this bread and butter remedy and the bad luck kicking in? Have you seen bad luck at work for anybody?
No, but here's the thing. Why I say this, because I always say bread and butter. So that
Mm-hmm.
saves people. You feel what I'm saying?
So you're saying it's so much that there's no chance for the bad luck to find its way
Not
in.
on my watch. Not on my watch. If I've ever seen anybody split a pole, like my sister, she's an asshole. I love her though. She knows that I have this superstition. So if we're
Yeah.
walking together, she will not only split the pole, but she'll do circles around it.
Whoa.
And the whole time in my mind, I'm like, bread and butter, you motherfucker, you bread and butter, bread and butter. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's one of those, like, I do it so much now, I don't even think about it. I see it happen and I'm going bread and butter.
Let me ask you this question, because this is a conspiracy theory you clearly hold, or a superstition you clearly hold.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that, because you're saying your sister ain't bought in on this clearly?
No, she doesn't believe it. She thinks
she doesn't believe in it at all.
Mm-mm.
Are other members of your family bought in on this, or are you completely alone in this?
I think I'm
journey?
completely alone. I feel like I spent the most time as a child with our grandmother, right? And so a lot of the superstitions and the conspiracy theories that I've grown to know as a kid, like I learned through her. So,
Yeah.
you know, all of my other siblings, they were in school, or they were mostly in school or living their lives or whatever the case. So a lot of the fears they had already grown out of. So I was still stuck with them. So of course, it's not going to affect her the way it affects me, because I'm the last one. I have a different view from her. So even though it doesn't mean much to her, and it's never like, I don't think she counts bad luck. I don't think she pays attention to that. I don't think any of my siblings are like, damn, I did that. Damn, I fucked up. That's bad luck. Like I would be more of the person who's like, damn, I broke her glass. That's me. You know what I mean?
I am the oldest of 5, and I think I'm further. There is a bigger separation between me and my youngest sibling than even you and your family.
Okay.
So, and there's a big gap for y'all, but like, my youngest sibling is 23 years younger than I am.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's a pretty massive gap. And similar to you, my youngest sister, her best friend was our grandmother, and sort of remains our grandmother. She just spent shit tons of time hanging out with our grandmother. And because of that, she's just a little old lady who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she just be saying little old lady shit that truly none of us ever adopted.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, the other day we were talking about Lizzo. Like, my sister was like, yeah, I used to like Lizzo, but she take her clothes off too much for my taste.
Ooh.
And it's like, bitch, you're 11. Why is this your personality?
I'm very judgmental as a child as well. So I agree with her. Like,
sure.
No, I love Lizzo, actually. She's one of my role models. But
we all love Lizzo.
Listen,
that's not the point. My sister talks weird and I'm concerned.
Well, let me tell you something. That granny intuition is gonna keep her safe, honestly. Like, I could have gotten into a lot of heinous shit as a kid. But because I spent a lot of time with my grandmother watching stories and stuff, you know, your attention focuses on different things. You have a lot more discernment when you spend time with your elders versus like just kicking it with your friends or something like that. So I agree with her. I was a very judgmental 11-year-old. Her and I see each other.
I think y'all would have vibed. I think y'all would have found some stuff to rock with each other on. That said, you're getting these sort of like superstitious qualities from your grandmother. Was your grandmother especially superstitious? Was she like constantly walking around and telling y'all to be wary of various, honestly, trickery out in the world?
No, we were just really rambunctious. So she was like the go get a switch type. Like,
Oh.
it wasn't, not more superstition, just more like, I said what I said. If it didn't happen, I'm going to threaten you, but I'm not going to hit you. I'm going to threaten you. It's like that. So that's why I say I'm very cautious.
I got you.
I always teeter on the line of death. You feel what I'm saying? But I never go too far.
Right. You knew how to stir Granny up, but you didn't upset her enough that she felt like she had to pull that switch back and do work with it.
Absolutely. My grandmother, she was dope as hell. She was an amazing woman. She was very funny, very intuitive, but not like, oh, don't do that, baby. Like, not like that. She wasn't that type of grandmother.
Right. No, I think I similarly have never experienced that grandmother. Like, that wasn't a grandma I had of like, oh, my precious child. It was like I had a cigarette smoking, listening to Tupac as grandma who just had opinions on stuff. And you had to be like, all right, grandma, I guess. I don't know. I ain't read that one.
Feel you on that. My grandmother was dope.
Okay. So grandma at least is introducing this idea to you, or introducing this sense of caution, maybe.
For sure.
Are you then spreading the good word to your peers? Are you then going out in the world and being like, hey, y'all, hot take here, stay away from splitting poles? Or is this so ingrained in the community you're already in that you don't even need to spread this as news? It just is understood.
Okay, so I'm going to go with B, right? But also, everybody not ready for the truth. You know, sometimes when you speak, what you know, people look at you like you crazy.
Yeah.
So you keep certain things to yourself. And you just continue to bless them or pray for them in silence. And you say bread and butter when you see them slip holes. You ain't got to tell everybody because they don't need to know.
I got you. This bread and butter is for those who want to be bread and buttered. And for those who don't, good luck. Best of luck to you.
Absolutely. Just, hopefully I'm around when you split a pole.
Right.
Because if not, you fucked.
I got you. Let me ask you this question, because I know a little bit about your family. I know you guys grew up in a or at least at a time were in a pretty Muslim household, right? Like you guys had a Muslim upbringing. How does superstition connect, or does it connect to religion and religious practices? Do you think that they can coincide, or is it like jetting up against it and you got to like do your superstition under the bed when nobody's looking? Your prayers out in front when everybody is?
I think okay, so we were raised in an Islamic home, right? But then once my parents divorced, it was kind of like the religion kind of went with the marriage.
Right.
So for me, that was 6, right? So anything that I learned from the religion from 6 and before, maybe there would be some sort of a connection, maybe.
Sure.
But after that, I feel that just came from more worldly experiences, less about religion. And if it is connected to any religion, it's going to be Christianity, because everything comes from Christianity, apparently.
Yeah. Well, listen, again, and we rarely use this twice, but
well, that's how they get you.
That's how they get you, because everything coming from Christianity, particularly in this country, feels like part of the way that like the weapons are created, right? Or at least the level of control is created for people. You keep people in line by making sure that everything comes from Christianity and or is connected back to Christianity.
Absolutely. So any of you didn't do this, if you don't do that in the Bible, because I don't know the Bible like that. But if there's a lot of do's and don'ts in there, I'm sure I know that part.
Yeah.
And like if you don't do the do's, your ass is grass. Thus, conspiracies, thus splitting poles.
Yeah. And what's fascinating, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I don't think that many people do know the Bible, right? Like not in a way that they at least pretend to or position themselves to. And so it does become this weird game of like everybody's individual interpretations of very specific chapters or documents or quotes, as opposed to a full measured understanding of like the entire book and its intentions. And even the entire book is a crazy concept, because it's not like it was written by like one dude or
No.
lady. It was like curated by 18 different people and then written by 100 different people, and they compacted all of that together. And one dude was like, yo, call that shit King James. And then we were off to the races.
See what I'm saying? You know more than I do.
Oh, I just threw out random names and numbers. I don't know. Is James a person? Never heard
I think
of him.
so. I think so. I think there's a King James somewhere in these streets in history.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a challenging game that we're playing, right? Of like, I guess it's not even that challenging. There shouldn't be that much challenge in mixing religion and superstition because they all have a quality of just whatever's available, take it, leave it, who cares?
I think that was my hardest thing about like growing up in religion was the fact that my father would always tell us like, it's your own interpretation. That's why it's important for you to read it so you can have your own connection with God or Allah or whomever. But I'm like, it's kind of also in a weird way like the internet, because I hear people saying like you can go on the internet to find anything to back up whatever your agenda is.
Yes.
You know how many pastors go in the Bible and use passages to get you to pay them money? That's fucked up.
Right.
Up. So it's just, I don't know. I'm.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think in a beautiful way, what you're saying is we all have an agenda. And so your agenda can be, an agenda doesn't have to be a bad word per se. It can be a word of support and love and spreading as it was intended, a good word. But there are also people who have a negative agenda, and we only can see that employed after it's being employed if we have the knowledge to go back and read these things and research these things. So it's an odd game we're all playing of like figuring out, okay, is this splitting the pole actually bad luck, or is this like somebody trying to trick me into behaving a certain way just so that they can reclaim their power over me or the world or whatever it is?
Damn, look at you bringing that full. You are good. You just brought that shit all the way back around. Go ahead, Langston. Oh, exactly. Yes.
Listen, hey, they pay me the big bucks, and by big bucks I mean almost nothing to make these connections. So you know, I do my best. I do my best to bring it all full circle.
Well, kudos to you because you just did it.
Hell
I was up there, and then you brought me back. Thank you.
All right. Fuck yeah. Well, we're back, and we'll be back with more Zuri Salahuddin and more My Mama Told Me.
Woohoo!
And we are back.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Yeah, we're back here with more Zuri Salahuddin, more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about this superstition that if you split the pole, your black ass is going to have bad luck. And who knows if it's real or if this is something fictitious that an evil person cooked up. We're figuring it out. Are you a particularly superstitious person across the board? Are you like, hell yeah, I'm bought in on black cats, mirrors broken, all that stuff? Or is it limited to just to pole splitting?
All right, listen. When I was in the 6th grade, okay,
Yep.
I was looking outside of my window and I seen a black cat, okay? Just a random black cat. That same day, I went to school and got into my first fight ever. Isn't that crazy?
Well, let me ask you this. Were you about to fight that day anyway? And then
no, I was not. I had no intentions of fighting anyone's child.
This black cat didn't knowing damn well your ass was already cracking your knuckles and putting grease on your cheeks.
Let me tell you how unprepared I was for this fight. I did not bring any Vaseline to school. I did not bring any extra hair ties. None of those things. I literally looked out the window and was like, a black cat. And then went on with the rest of my day and went on like just and didn't think twice of it. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting into a fight with a girl. So it's like, no, I think it's just splitting poles and black cats.
Oh, that's where you limit it. And
I think
this,
so.
I imagine, Black Cat justified by the fact that this girl wanted to fight you after you saw this black cat, and then the pole splitting because your grandmother gave you this information.
Well, here's the thing. As far as the black cat goes, right? I don't want to just discriminate against all black cats, because that's not what we're doing here.
And I thought you were doing racist cat shit, but no, go ahead. Tell me more.
No. I think that was more of a coincidence, because I've seen black cats since then and nothing bad happened, obviously. But I was just saying that was a coincidence that, like, I looked out the window and I was like, huh. And then boom, there I am beating girls up.
Damn. Okay, so you won the fight, so it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad luck. Now, if you guys socked and jumped and didn't get no hits, then maybe black cats justified. But it sounds like black cats do you a favor.
The security guard asked my mom, "What the hell y'all at home teaching her? What are you doing? What do you have? Boxing lessons in the backyard?"
And you had to be like, "Yeah, kinda."
Kinda. No. But I think, honestly, for me, really, truly, all jokes aside, it's just polls. I'm not like crazy superstitious.
I got you. You're not super superstitious. Well, let's dig into some of this research, and maybe this will make you feel more justified in your decision to be superstitious with the poll. Maybe it won't. We'll find out. But like many superstitions, this one apparently takes many forms, right? That it isn't just what we've talked about, but there are some other elements that live in it. But I read some who believe that by splitting the pole, and this is interesting because it kind of connects to what you were saying about the slavery of it all, or at least the connection of it all, is that there are some who believe that by splitting the pole, you are severing the connection with another person. That that when you walk with a person, you are sharing your spirit, your energy with that person. And then by splitting an object, by allowing something to come in the middle of you, you are severing that connection. And that is why you get bad luck. Specifically, they say the bad luck is transferred to the younger person in that pair, right? Or in that group. Because they say that the younger person, in being severed in that group, is losing the wisdom of the older person walking beside them. So you're cut off from that wisdom, and therefore you are facing bad luck.
Interesting. I've been told that I was psychic before. Now, I'm just going to throw you on a loop here.
Uh-oh.
I had no idea when I said what I said about.
Yep.
And you looked it up and boom, bow, plow. They must have been reading my mind or something.
Yeah, these articles that were written well before you said it must have been reading your mind.
Hell yeah. I was feeding them the shit. What is it, ESP?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I got you. So let's go even further into your ESP, because almost all of the articles that I read talk about the solution to splitting a pole being the phrase bread and butter.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Almost everything I read said that if you split a pole, you are meant to say bread and butter. And that got me asking the question, why the fuck are we saying bread and butter in relation to split poles? It's a very dumb thing to say, theoretically, about splitting poles. Now, before I tell you what I found, I'm curious to know, and this will be a good test of your ESP. What do you think the reason is for saying bread and butter?
Okay. Now, when I'm gonna now call that man a prophet. That random man on the corner.
Sure.
He's a prophet, because this was like, had to be in like 6th, 7th grade, right? So who the hell knew that they were putting this information on the internet all the way back then? Not him. That man didn't even probably have a cell phone. You feel what I'm saying?
No. The Prophet James.
Hell yeah. That's his name. Prophet James. Off of 95th and Western. Now, as far as bread and butter goes, all right, boom. Here we go. I'm going to break it down. So
I'm excited.
If it came from slavery, right?
Yep.
What did slaves have to eat? Like, I'm just saying, what was something that they had the most access to?
Sure.
Perhaps bread.
Bread? Yeah, no, they had bread. I don't know if they had butter.
Why?
Butter
Why
feels
wouldn't they
like a
have butter? They
luxury.
were probably the ones, we probably invented butter.
Okay.
I'm just
That's
saying,
a bold statement.
I'm just saying, they gave us the cow and was like, here, motherfucker, figure it out. And so he was like, all right, bet,
Sure.
bitch. And then we figured it out.
Okay.
You feel what I'm
I
saying?
like where you're going. I like what you're doing.
I don't know if we invented butter. I probably made that up, but I'm just saying.
Unfortunately, what I'll tell you is that your ESP seems to be glitching a little bit because that's not quite the answer that I found in
Okay,
relation
I
to the
want to
bread
hear
and
this.
butter. But I like where you were headed. The concept of saying bread and butter derives from the difficulty of separating butter from bread once it's been spread.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? So you can't unbutter bread. You can't scrape butter off of it. And so by saying bread and butter, you reestablish the connection that you would have had with that person had that pole not split y'all.
Yeah, see, Prophet James, he ain't say none of that shit.
No,
that
Prophet
makes sense.
James, he had quick information for you. He had to get on that bus.
That makes sense because you can't wring out toast and
No.
render the butter.
Not at all.
Okay, I can learn some things. I like that.
So, interestingly, a lot of the online discussions seem to suggest that this is especially, and as we mentioned, a Black superstition, which I didn't realize. I thought white devils enjoyed this superstition too. And I was wondering, like, okay, why specifically do we think Black people are so into this? And you, Zuri, once again, were correct that early 19th century is basically the placement of the origins of this, and it's slavery and racism. And particularly, it was, again, sort of like a metaphorical, much in the way that so much of our language and our history is written through like these odd metaphors. It was slaves encouraging each other to stay connected with one another, not necessarily in the don't get lost kind of way, but an emotional connection. And splitting the pole was a metaphorical sort of like breaking of that connectivity.
Gotcha. I love that. See, you bring stuff to the table and bam, it turns out to be gold.
Yeah. And in a nice way, it seems like the pole, I can't imagine that slaves started by being like, don't split a pole, right? But they probably started by being like, hey, don't split that corn stalk or
that
whatever
wooden
the fuck.
steak right there. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some goofy slave shit. And now, you know, they ain't have nothing. Don't split that hard slave clothing. I don't know.
Lord.
But now we, kind of free Black people, can come up with new things to encourage each other to stay connected.
Right.
And the pole became our contemporary interpretation of their old logic.
Okay.
So one of the things that got me excited about all of this, or one of the things that I found especially interesting, is sort of like this idea of contemporary conspiracy theories born of superstition, right? That superstition seems to be born of people trying to make logic from the illogical.
Yeah.
So if you are a slave, you're facing down something that truly is illogical. You are being told you are not human beings when you know fully that you are human beings and you didn't even belong in this space in the first place. And you're being told that by a bunch of people who brought you here, but also pretend like they don't want you here. It's a fucking wild concept.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that you remain human and remain logical in this is to create logic where logic doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
So that then took me into the ways, and this, we already sort of touched on this, but it got me interested at least I found it interesting to think about how many of our religious practices could easily be labeled as superstition or even conspiracy theory if they weren't so broadly accepted. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but please elaborate a little more.
Well, you know, like, for example, in some religious practices, we drink the blood of Jesus and we eat the bread, which is his body.
Right.
That is a metaphor that has sort of been passed down from generation to generation. And if it weren't for the fact that millions upon millions of people agree to take part in this, it truly would just be superstition. It would just be conspiracy theory to have like 8 people in a room eating some wafers and calling it body. When in fact, it probably, because we've spread it so much and because it's been intentionally spread so much, we accept it as something more substantial than that.
Yeah, I think personally, what I feel is that comes from just wanting to be safe, right? So a lot of these superstitions and conspiracies come from just trying to literally not die.
Yeah.
Not die a death that was not natural or was an accident, right? And so you have, again, like slavery, these people who are telling you what you just mentioned about you're not a human being and you're gonna do what the fuck I tell you to do or I'm gonna kill you. So you come up with these different survival methods to avoid that. And in a weird way, they catch on because it makes sense for the masses to stay the masses.
And that's the part I think I'm especially interested in, right? I 100% agree with you that these practices are about safety. You said it yourself that the splitting of the pole is really about you wanting to be you were wary, you're cautious in these spaces, and so it's just a way of keeping yourself protected and safe. And that is not dissimilar from the reasons that we pray, that we talk to a God who isn't physically there, but we believe is there. That all makes sense. But then the question becomes, what is the intention on the part of the people who are spreading these things? And why do they want them spread? So the splitting of the pole, we now understand, is coming from a community that wants to keep other members of that community safe. But the praying to a God, that could just be colonialism, right? That could just be a bunch of white people being like, if we can get them to get on their knees when we tell them to get on their knees and pray for what we tell them to pray for, then we have their ear, we have their power, and we can control them for generations to come.
Yeah, that's true. I think that part for me is really tricky because a lot of people in religion, right? They don't believe that they're being controlled. It's almost like if you say if you buy somebody something, right? And you're like, hey, this is specifically for you to do this, right? But then they take it and they're like, oh my God, yeah, fuck what you talking about. I'm doing it for this, 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 this. And then they're successful because they created their own interpretation from it. So I feel like that's why a lot of people don't even feel like they're being controlled because they think that they are in control with what they've been given.
Yes.
If that makes
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the idea of, and it's funny because we're talking about these very nebulous words, right? Like control and freedom and all these things. They don't actually mean anything unless you add a level of subjectivity to it. That I have an interpretation of what freedom is, which may not be your interpretation of what freedom is. And the same is true for all of these religious beliefs, these superstitions, these conspiracy theories that you go, well, if I just do this, then I'm free. And someone else might be like, yeah, but nah. And I'm going to add my own little flavor to it. And then I'll create my freedom, which actually requires you to be trapped. But I'll be free. And it's just all very complicated because none of it is objective enough to let us all just be as loose and at liberty as we would love.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think it's all a state of mind. Like you're as free as you believe you are.
And I like that. I do think in a nice way, that is what is comforting about religion, conspiracy theory, superstition, is that it is about your own state of mind more than it is about like your measurement out in the world. That as long as I am talking to God in my head, then I'm talking to God. It doesn't matter if the world can prove that God exists or prove that splitting these poles causes bad luck or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's absolutely no proof of it. But let me tell you something. I've never gotten bad luck from splitting the pole. I can tell you that much.
And you beating bitches up at school, so you're doing great.
That was a one time. It didn't happen again.
One of the things that I decided to do, sort of thinking about a lot of these conversations and sort of like this subject in general, is I wanted to read an article about the connection between superstition and religion, right? And one of the things they said is that there was actually like a very deep connection in superstition and religion in colonial America, like in America back when the Pilgrims were kicking around here, right? And one of the things that they talked about is the fact that in many ways, religious practices are really just superstitions that have been confirmed, right? It's just superstition that they've managed to actually prove to some extent versus superstition, which remains a little more unproven out in the world.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like it's one of those things where you had to be there to see it.
Yeah.
And seeing is how, how many years are we talking about? Millions? Like thousands? Like how far back are we talking? Like,
talking about to colonial America, it's like 300, 400.
Okay, fine, whatever. Actually, in my mind, I was thinking of like the origin of the Bible, right?
Sure.
But in essence, I just feel like it's the greatest example I would probably be able to use is like the news, like the media. So you trip and fall. We talk about this. They talk about this on Southside. You trip and fall. And then it spirals into this, a tragedy has struck in this neighborhood. It's like a nigga really just tripped and fell. But you all are talking about 30 people died. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, conspiracy is just a horrible game of telephone. That's all it is. It's just like you're telling someone one thing to try to prevent them, and then they go and share it thinking that they're helping someone else, and you're really just spreading bullshit.
I think that's a good articulation of what I also think conspiracy theory can be. I think what makes it more interesting is you play telephone as a kid. Obviously, you're aware of the game. But what makes telephone interesting is somebody is making a choice at some point in the game to change the word. They have to be. Because it's not a question of being able to hear it. It's a question of what you wanted the word to be or what you wanted the response from that word to become.
Right.
So if somebody whispers the word like tuberculosis and you decide that like you're going to change it to twerk on theosis.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden it's a different conversation when it makes it all the way to the end of the line. And that starts with one individual. It starts with one person deciding to interpret a thing in front of them.
The tricky thing about the world is that there's never an end of the line.
Yes.
So
I like that.
Yeah. There's never an end of the line.
I think that's a good way. It's a haunting way of going to break, but I think you're right. I think it really made me feel scared and sad when you said it, but I do think there's a very dark truth to that there is no end of the line.
No, because there's always people being born. Like,
there's always more people, and there's always more people to misinterpret or reinterpret the things in front of us, and we really just have to be responsible for ourselves and do our best to feel happy and healthy and whole, no matter what the telephone game happens to be. Full circle? Did that work? Did we make it all the way back?
2 for 2, man. 2 for
Hell
2.
yeah, dog. All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll take another break. We'll be back with more Zuri Salahuddin and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
Suck my dick.
Yeah, we're back here with more Zuri Salahuddin. More My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about them goddamn superstitions, those conspiracy theories, splitting poles. Black people, don't do it. White people, go crazy. That's what I say. Split away, white people. What harm could it do to you? Black
Oh
people, you
God.
know better. Cut it out. Let's play a game, Zuri.
All right.
This is a fun game that I cooked up especially for your episode. It's a new game called Stupid Stitious.
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
That's what I'm calling it. I think I said Stupid Stitions at one point to you,
I
but
recall that.
we'll go with Stupid Stitious.
Okay.
What I will do, Zuri, is I'm going to introduce to you a number of superstitions from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Some very worldly, international superstitions. And what I would love for you to do is just give your takes on whether or not you think these things are legit, if there's any legitimacy to them, if you personally plan to adopt them into your own practices. I just want your takes.
Okay.
Cool. So let's start with a fun one. The first one comes from Syria. In Syria, apparently, they banned yo-yos in 1933 over fear that they would cause a drought. Your thoughts?
All right. Let me just unpack this.
Take your time. The logic's all there. There's
Okay.
no rush.
So Syria, it's already hot.
Uh-huh.
Already hot. And something about this motion right here.
Yep.
Perhaps causes a shift in the wind.
Okay.
Thus, I had nothing after that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. I mean, maybe if they think like everybody in Syria has a yo-yo and they're all doing this, they're fucking up with the wind, which fucks up with like the irrigation.
Yeah.
And, maybe.
I don't know. I it makes me think that maybe much like what we were talking about, it just was in 1933, yo-yos were new. And maybe they were facing, they probably weren't new, but they probably were newer than they are today. And maybe they were facing down a nasty drought and they were like, you new yo-yo niggas are fucking up our chances at a good rain. And we can't risk it. We have to be cautious, get rid of the yo-yos, and maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah, that one I'm going to go ahead and call it a superstition.
That's a stupid stition for you. I respect that choice. Okay, here's a different one that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on. Whistling indoors. Apparently, whistling while you work may be an issue in Lithuania, where it is forbidden to whistle indoors. They do not let you whistle indoors in Lithuania.
Okay, all right. Lithuania.
Yep.
High ceilings. Okay.
Oh,
Maybe.
sorry. Before you go crazy on this, I need to finish the last piece this is my mistake.
Okay.
But the reason they don't want you whistling indoors is because they believe the noise will summon demons.
Have you ever heard that one whistle tune that goes, the do 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 do? You never heard that one?
I've never heard what you're trying to do before in my life.
All right. So,
I probably have.
Have you seen Deuce Bigelow, the
I
European
have.
one?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, you remember when the killer was whistling that tune?
Yeah.
It was extremely demonic.
Yes.
I want to agree with Lithuania. That their whistling summons the devil.
Okay, so whistling in general for you feels eerie and scary and demonic, and you prefer not to have that happening
only
around
because
you.
I can't do it, and I am.
Oh, so this is Mater shit.
No. I am of God, and so there's a reason clearly why I can't whistle.
The Lord wouldn't curse you with no whistling lips, and the rest of us, we're going to hell.
I mean, just don't do it indoors.
Okay, well, Lithuania, you're bought in. It sounds like you'll do well in Lithuania. You will not do as well in Syria, but that's okay.
I got to have my yo-yo.
You got to have your yo-yo. Okay, here's another one. In Mexico, they believe that it is bad luck to place two mirrors opposite each other, that the infinite reflections that are created by these two mirrors facing each other open a doorway to the devil.
I've actually heard that one before. Not that it was Mexican, but like facing two mirrors like this together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that before, that it creates like a portal for spirits to like come in and out.
I got you.
But
So when you heard that, you were like, okay, cool, never doing that? Or you were like, nah, I'm about to
no.
put some mirrors next to each other and see what happens.
Well, honestly, okay, do you remember like they probably still have these in some bathrooms, but like in the bathrooms where you have like the little cabinets and it has like the 3 different
Hell
mirror
yeah.
doors. I used to put them motherfuckers together and put my head in.
Yeah, you put your face in and
Yeah.
you see if you can see you all the way down the way.
360. This is the 360 situation of my head. So
yeah. Fuck you, Mexico.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Mexico. Y'all lost. Y'all lost.
Ain't no devils back here. That's how I give myself a haircut when I'm in 8th grade.
See what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, I talked about haircuts. Here's a fun one. In India, apparently, they believe that you should not get a haircut on a Tuesday or it will cause bad luck.
Well, seeing as how my other hair comes from India,
all right.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and agree. I don't want to fuck up the flow. So
got you. You're like, if that's what the Indian people believe, then I support their work, and I'm not going to get my haircut on
It's like getting
Tuesday.
a product in the mail, and the instructions read, "Don't do this." I'm gonna go ahead and listen to those instructions.
Right. Let me ask you this about this Tuesday shit. Are you worried that some of the hair that you've gotten from India might be Tuesday ass hair and therefore less quality?
Now, if you know anything about the hair that they do sell, most of it is from an actual ritual. So I highly doubt it was cut on a Tuesday. Highly doubt it.
Damn.
Yeah.
I got you. So they're doing something a little more substantial in the cutting and therefore probably not doing it on the one day a week that you ain't supposed to do that shit.
It's a sacred day. Why would you?
Yeah. All right. Respect. Okay. Last one. This is the last one I'll hit you with. In Spain, apparently, instead of kissing someone at midnight to celebrate the new year, they are encouraged to eat 12 grapes, one after the other, for good luck. You eat grapes on the new year for good luck.
I mean, we eat black-eyed peas. Why? If we can have black-eyed peas, they can have grapes. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Like,
because I don't get the black-eyed peas thing on any level.
Nor do I. All right. So you're just like, look, if there's a version that exists for us, then there's probably a version that exists for other people. And apparently grapes to black-eyed peas is a 1-for-1 between Black Americans and Spanish kissers, I guess, or people out in the world.
Hey,
great. All right. Well, Zuri, we did it. The episode is over. We nailed it. Could you tell the people at home where they can find you and what cool shit you have going on?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat, all ZURI_LUV, Zuri Love. Yeah, and then upcoming Sherman Showcase Season 2 is coming out, so be looking for that.
Hey, look out for Sherman Showcase. Follow Zuri online. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman and feel free to subscribe to the podcast, write comments, do that bullshit that you're supposed to do to support this goddamn shit show so that we can keep the party going.
Yeah.
And if you want to send us drops, you can send them to mymommapod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Not just drops, your conspiracy theories, your opinions, your hate speech. Send it all to mymommapod@gmail.com. Otherwise, bye, bitch.
Bye, y'all.